You ever wonder what an entire volume of Monster would be like if Tenma wasn't in it? Spoiler alert, it's just as good as any other volume of Monster. But secondly, seriously, this is a 400-page book, and Tenma doesn't even show up until page 162. And even after that, his presence in the volume is extremely minimal. This volume really belongs to everybody else in the story at this point in time, including a new character that we really have not dealt with before, at least not in the level that we're going to in this one, and he's the guy who we spend the first 162 pages with. And his name is Richard. And he's the private investigator guy that was hired in the end of the last volume by the rich guy. And he's like a recovering alcoholic whose wife left him and took his kid, and he's trying to get to be able to see his kid again, and he's trying to be better from his alcoholism simply for the sake of being better, which was extremely refreshing. I mean, he's not trying to be better because he wants his job back. He's not trying to be better because he wants to get his wife back. He's not trying to be better to get his kid back or so he can see his kid. He wants to see his kid, and that is a huge driving motivation for him. But even in this, there's times where the kid's like, no, I don't want to see my dad. And he's just like, I get it. And just moves on with his life and keeps striving to be better. And I'm like, that's so refreshing. You know, just to see somebody who's down and out and struggled and had some hard times, and they're just on the right path to getting better for the sake of being on the right path, not because they're trying to achieve some ultimate goal. It was just a really refreshing thing to see. I really did like it. Anyway, he's in therapy because he killed a murderer while he was drunk on the job, all while running his little private investigator business on the side. Meanwhile, Johan goes behind the one kid's back and tells the rich guy that he's actually his son, and the rich guy really likes the kid, and now they're all happy, and they're like one big happy family, father and son and Johan. Which in turn causes the old guy to fire Richard, and Richard's just going to keep right on investigating on his own. Big surprise. And in the process of continuing his investigation, he's going to end up discussing it with his therapist. His therapist also has connections. His therapist starts to put some pieces together too. He starts to put these pieces together. They start to work together. They start putting all the pieces together. And ultimately, the therapist starts to believe him and starts to help him out. And at this point in the story, I'm just having a blast. I was legitimately shocked at how much fun I was having with just these new characters, and Tenma's nowhere to be found, and it was just wonderful. It was great. And it's worth pointing out that at this point in the story, the therapist keeps making these claims like, oh yeah, and if you look at this picture, it resembles this picture, and if you talk to this person, and we can get them to claim that they knew this person, and that person knew this person, and that person once saw this person, and then that person saw this person over here, then we can prove that it was Johan. And I just want to be like, I'm really sorry, old guy with glasses over here, but that's not really how it works. I mean, you're not going to walk into some courtroom with your leaning tower of circumstantial evidence and claim that you proved anything. I mean, you may have figured it out for yourself and lined up all the dots, but that doesn't prove shit. You will walk right in, and that Johan or murderer, whoever it is, will walk right out the other door. That judge will throw that case right out because you ain't got nothing. That being said, it's a wonderful sequence, and I had a blast reading it. Anyway, right about the time that they have all of it figured out is right about the time that Richard gets a phone call from his wife, and his daughter finally wants to see him, and he gets this meeting set up so that he can see his daughter for the first time in God knows how long. Right then he gets lured to the top of a roof by Johan and thrown to his death. And I just want to say that this manga is really good. The way that it's able to set people up and set these characters up and get you to care about them in such a short period of time is astounding. Also, the interweaving of plot lines and plot threads and the complexity of the way that they all kind of weave together as the story progresses forward is just masterful. Just like the 6-chapter long struggle with this guy to see his daughter and put all this together, and it all coincides with him getting to see his daughter right at the same time that he's dying. Yes, I know it's like super predictable, but it's also super satisfying the way it's set up, the way the dominoes are all set up and then fall. It's just really well done. Now, old glasses guy is going to look into his death and figure out that it wasn't an accident, he was murdered. And then he's going to ultimately end up and go sit down at his grave where we finally see Tenma. So now that Tenma's been introduced, he's going to take right back on over the story, right? No, we go right back to the old guy, and he's now investigating the death of this guy, Richard. But first, he needs to go to therapy with this woman whose husband has been cheating on her. And he's going to agree to see this husband, this cheating husband, and we get to see that it's Roberto. So you mean to tell me that you are not only a murderer, you're not only working for Johan, but you're also an adulterous son of a... Shame on you, Roberto. The list of your faulty attributes just gets longer. You are the worst human being in this manga. You're worse than Johan. Fucking Roberto. Anyway, Roberto tries to kill the old guy and he goes to run away and he's running down the stairs. And right then Tenma shows up and helps the old man escape. And now they're friends and they're going to work together. Actually not, because Tenma's going to decide at this point in the story that it's time that he finally just kills Johan. So he's going to go off on his own and he's going to start preparing to assassinate Johan. Which leaves old glasses guy to kind of investigate on his own, and at the same time now he has to play babysitter to Dieter. By the way, did anybody miss Dieter while he wasn't a part of the story? Because I know I did. Also at this point in the story, the BKA man shows back up too, just in case you forgot about him. Also the little nerdy girl from the last volume who's friends with the rich guy's son, who were like buddy-buddy for the entire volume as she helped him, get close to his dad, is now being ghosted hard by him because, he has a daddy now and he can't be bothered to hang out with, the only person that was willing to be his friend in the last volume. What a dick. But on the upside, this leads to her being able to hang out with the new girl who just showed up in town. It's Nina. Anyway, now Tenma goes out and he gets himself a rifle and he really starts preparing. Also, there's a weird side chapter here about kids playing blind chicken on a roof because Johan told them to. Okay, so now Johan and the rich guy's son are going to go to the library and they're going to start preparing the library for this massive donation of books from the rich guy. When Johan goes and asks for a recommendation of a children's picture book that he wants to give to one of the kids that he's convinced to play blind chicken on the roof, and she suggests a certain Czech picture book to him, and when she hands it to him, something in the book causes Johan to literally shake uncontrollably, start bawling, crying, screaming, and ultimately pass out. What the hell was in that book? This is the monster who, as far as I can tell, has not shown emotion yet in the entire story. If anything, he's the most cold and calculating creature imaginable in this story. So what did he just see? I really need to know. Dying to know what was in that book. Anyway, Tenma's going to pick out the spot that he wants to shoot him from, and the nerdy girl's going to hear about that book. When suddenly Johan gets an unaddressed letter from the big fat prostitute from before and goes to see her. Also, by the way, on the way there, he goes down the alley to see the big fat prostitute. There's just some strung out chick sitting in the alley like, drugs! Give me drugs! And I just want to be like, I don't think that's how it works. I mean, you might see some strung out person. They might ask you for a favor, or if you got a hookup or something. I doubt that they're just like, drugs! Give me drugs! Oh my God, drugs! Sweet Lord Jesus, if I just had drugs! It was, I don't know, it was just, it's the simple pleasures in life. Reading that, I was like, this is crazy, and I love it. Anyway, drugs! drugs? Anyway, Johann goes inside. The old fat prostitute tries to blackmail him. Roberto comes out, shoots her in the head, and then Johann leaves. Although, when Johann's leaving on his way out, he stops and he hands the lady some money, and he's like, go get yourself some drugs. I love this manga. Anyway, we get a few more chapters of the old guy with glasses interrogating people, and the BKA man and his investigation. He's hot on everybody's trail, and Tenma preparing for the assassination. And I just want to say, this is just a really well-constructed thriller. 90% of this manga is like people sitting around in rooms talking, and it will still have you on the edge of your seat with like nail-biting tension. And I know I've said it before, and if you let yourself get like too caught up with certain things that happen in the story or certain conveniences that occur, or the fact that in this one of the characters got way too carried away and caught up and excited about circumstantial evidence like it was the end-all be-all, or just how well some of those pieces click together as the story goes, or just how convenient some of the things are timed as they weave in and out of the story. If you let yourself get too hung up on small little details, it could possibly derail the whole experience for you if you nitpicked it and thought about it too hard. But if you just sit back and let yourself go for the ride that Urasawa has set out to take you on, and just sit back and enjoy the show as you see every layer so intricately placed together just so it fits perfectly. It is a wonderful experience. It's a blast. It's just structured and layered so well. It's almost like a masterclass in how to write a good thriller. Anyway, we end this volume with Tenma getting set up to take his shot, and the nerdy girl checks out the picture book. Wait, we can't stop there. I want to know what's in the book. No, give me like 4 more pages. Just let me see the inside of the book. Fucking manga. I don't even care about Tenma taking the shot. We know there's 5 more volumes. It's that he's not going to hit him. But the book? That I need to know. That I want to know where that goes. We know the other plot thread's a dead end. Anyway, I really just continue to enjoy this. I am having an absolute blast. I don't know if it's like 9 territory, but I think I gave the last one an 8. And I think I'm going to leave this right there. I'm going to let it just continue to sit on an 8. It's a wonderful read, and I really recommend it to anybody. It's not like your big fantasy brawler. It's really just people sitting in rooms and talking. And I love it. 8. Anyway, as always, the link for my Patreon's in the description below. The link for my Discord's in the description below. Follow me on Twitter. And I'll see you next time.